shows up, then we'll start the official meeting then, if that's okay with the Jerusalem clan. Awesome. So I guess I would like now to invite Mr. Straka. We'll start right now. Well, let me make sure.
Make sure our
Our video's working. Okay. So we'll invite Mr. Straka up to start. And I so appreciate you coming. This is the very first time that an elementary student government team or club has come and presented. We've had the junior and high school for several years, but we decided this year that we'd like to hear from all the buildings. So thank you for being the first.
All right, well, thank you for having us. I'm just going to introduce our student council advisors. So we have Ms. Linville, Mrs. Wasserman, and Mrs. Hauer. So they were going to actually get the presentation started. We have a number of our student council members, so they will be introduced as well. I think we have 18 members, 19. So we have a nice, handful of them here today. Also, I'd like to thank our parents for coming out tonight and taking the time out of your busy schedules to bring them out for this meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to someone who started, Mrs. Howard, and we'll get started with the presentation.
Thank you. All right, if you guys want to come line up here, we're just going to go in a row and kind of introduce to everybody some of the things that we're doing here at Jerusalem. And we created a slideshow today so that the students could go off of it and give you guys some pictures and fun things to look at too. So we wanted to introduce you guys to some of our fourth grade team members. Some of them are here, some of them are not here today. We have, I don't know if the fourth graders, do you want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Allison. I'm in fourth grade. I'm Maya. I'm in fourth grade. I'm Izzy. I'm in fourth grade. I'm Olivia, and I'm in fourth grade.
The ones that are not here also, we have Vinny and we have Logan and Bryson, Kaya, Piper, Celine, and Sophia. Those are the other fourth grade members. Now third grade.
I'm Grace, and I'm in third grade. I'm Willow, and I'm in third grade. I'm Bailey, and I'm in third grade.
What was that? I said it really fast. What was your name again?
I'm Bailey, and I'm in third grade.
Awesome.
All right, and then not present with us today, we have Abby, Kalia, Isabella, Reese, and Ross. And then our student council advisors have already been introduced to you, so thank you for having us. I'll start by just introducing briefly. Student Council is a third and fourth grade program at Jerusalem. Students in each grade are given the opportunity to fill out an application and present to their classmates why they feel they would be the right person to represent their classroom. Votes are taken by their classmates and the representatives are chosen in September of the school year. So we have 3 goals that our student council kind of focuses on throughout the school year. Goal number 1 is student council members are to represent their classroom and their grade level. They listen to their classmates and they bring their ideas or concerns to our meetings.
Student council members are leaders at Jerusalem and in our community. They are also expected to act as leaders by following the 3 R's, being respectful, responsible, and ready.
And then our student council, we participate in activities around the school and around the community that bring our school together in fun, and our activities are very meaningful. We just incorporate those in different ways. You want to start, Bella? So kind of what we've been up to, some of the things that we've already done throughout the year. We'll have some of the kids share of that.
Student council tries to work on projects throughout the year. We try to have monthly activities. Here is a snapshot of what we've been doing this year. In early October, student council collected 1,440 items for the hygiene collection in partnership with Access American Culture Exchange Service. Items were distributed to local food banks. Our student council members use funds from our Valgrams slides in 2022 and purchase pet food care items for local pet features, fosters, and hospitals, energy, diesels, gardens, and hospitals. After items were purchased, student council got to meet some of the dogs they donated to. Here's some photos. Peanut butter and jelly drive. Some would argue this is our most important tradition at Jerusalem. The peanut butter versus jelly drive. This happens in November prior to Thanksgiving break. Families are asked to collect peanut butter if they want Ohio State to beat Michigan, and jelly if they want Michigan to beat Ohio State. This year, peanut butter won 415 to 177 for a total of 592 jars. Student council tries to visit classrooms in various ways. One of the most fun is when we get to come and do a craft with classrooms. This Thanksgiving we made turkey handprints with Fruit Loops in grades K through 2 and a turkey bookmark in grades 3 to 4. It was a blast. Here's some photos. Student council held their second annual food toy drive on December 7th. Families were invited to an open house at Jerusalem where they could take pictures with Santa, decorate cookies, and shop at the Santa shop. Student council was able to collect a large amount of food and toys to donate at the Oregon Health and Welfare Christmas Basket Program. Here's some photos. Student council members were invited by our school's art club teachers to create art to be auctioned during the Frost Fest. Because most of our collections go to the Oregon Health and Wildlife Basket Program, we take a field trip to the packing facility and help get the baskets ready. This gives us the opportunity to see what all of our hard work is for. Our field trip was today. Here are some photos. Aban says hello. We sell candy bars and deliver them on Valentine's Day. This is not a fundraiser, but sometimes we have some extra money and we donate it to a local charity. We are trying to put together a school-wide Easter egg hunt for Jerusalem to enjoy. Fun and games. We usually have a day where student council creates and runs games for the school to enjoy. This has been done during our Jet Jam or Spring Family Night. Are there any questions?
Well, you guys did a great job, so thank you for coming. So I have to hear a little bit from a couple of you, so you read a lot, you've been busy and the year's only halfway over. Do you have any favorite moments or memories, like a dog that you got to go see,
or what you did today when you packed bags, or some fun, what's been your favorite part about student council this year? You don't all have to answer, but maybe a couple of you.
So my favorite part of student council is raising money for the community. It's just helping the community out and being with the community with student council is great. I love being with a friend. And I know today we made a lot of memories because we were all starving, staring at food.
They didn't feed you, they just made you
Well,
pack.
they did give us a snack and we were all very thankful and
Do
we
we
had a
need to
lot.
look into it? We can look into it if we need to. Did you learn a lesson though about how to be grateful for all the food you do have?
Yes,
Awesome.
and we learned how to work together because we know there were a lot of arguments and the people that were helping us were telling us that we need to work together more and we did.
Good.
Does anyone else? My favorite thing about student council is probably all the collecting and donating we do. Like how we did the Hygiene for Humanity and the peanut butter and jelly drive. I don't know why it seems weird, but I like all the counting and collecting. Everyone else hates it. But I like doing the math for it. And after I get that done, I like the donating for it. And then today I really enjoyed the packing it all together. And we got to do even more counting. Which today it was fun, but still we got starved. So.
Awesome.
Well, at least it was what we started.
That's fair, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming, I appreciate it. As does everyone else, and I'm sure that the public is going to appreciate seeing all that your student council does, because this will be on our website for people to see.
Yeah, and I just want to say, great job. You were all very confident. No one looked nervous. You all were, did your slides, and you should feel very proud because part of being a leader is presenting in front of people, and you guys are the leaders of Jerusalem, so you should feel pretty special. So thank you guys, and thanks to the parents for coming out tonight and giving an update. And we hope to do this every year, so advisors kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we move forward. And maybe you third graders will come back again as fourth graders and share with the board. One thing we didn't do, though, that we asked you to do is introduce ourselves, just in case you don't know our names. So my name's Mr. Gregory. I'm the superintendent, and I get out to your school quite a bit. I missed you all today because I was actually going through all your classrooms today. But maybe we could just introduce ourselves.
Oh, excuse me, I am Jane Fruth, I'm the treasurer, and I do a lot of counting, so think about accounting.
Yeah, she was pretty excited that you like to count.
And I'm Carol Molnar, I'm president of the board, and I was a teacher at Jerusalem at one time. It's my first in my heart.
And I'm Lindsay Cathers, and this is my first year on the board, and I work in marketing in my professional life, and I'm a mom, so I have kiddos like you, and so I'm familiar with what goes on in some of your world, so nice job today,
Yeah.
appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And you do not have to stick around for the non-meeting meeting part that we're having right now. So we are going to have another presentation about high school athletics if you're interested in sticking around, but you do not have to. So thank you, kids. Thank you. Thank you. Joe, if you want to come up and maybe just hook up the computer, and we're moving you up on the schedule. It's 20 after. I'm anticipating that it'll just be up to 5 of us here moving forward. Sir. So just to set the stage for the few of us here, I've obviously talked with Ms. Cathers and Mrs. Molnar a little bit, but under my superintendent's report tonight was going to be just an update on one particular goal, or I'm sorry, objective of the strategic plan and timeliness. of the new fitness coordinator that Dave serves. I felt like tonight, that one might be a good one to highlight tonight. So I asked Joe Kiss to put together a presentation, which he has done, working with Dave. And so, I don't know, roughly however long, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it takes, and we can ask questions. And I'm pretty excited about what's happening. I'm very excited about what's happening. So
Yeah,
we'll sit
so
back and let you go. We'll get out of your way here a little bit.
first off, thank you, Mr. Gregory, for the invitation.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you to the board for being here tonight to listen to our presentation. Mr. Ostrander came around and gave out some packets. The packets is just a print off of the slideshow that is on the screen, just for your viewing pleasure there. You can take that home and look at it later on if you want, or I know, the screen's kind of to the board's back, so maybe just for your convenience. But we're here tonight, we're going over goal number 5 of our strategic plan, specifically objective number 1, which is Oregon City Schools will establish a comprehensive year-round fitness training program for students and for student athletes. So we're kind of giving an update tonight as to where we are as a district with our strategic plan. So my name is Mr. Joe Kiss. I'm the Assistant Director of Athletics here at Clay High School. With me is Mr. Dave Ostrander. He's going to introduce himself a little bit more on the next slide. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and Mr. Ostrander will say a little bit more about himself.
Hello, good night. My name is Dave Ostrander. I worked for many years up in Saline, and if you look at the slides, it's really simple that we took the trimester that we worked on underneath in Saline, we took that skeleton and basically turned it into 3 athletic seasons, which is what we would have done anyways. It's not what we would do academically, but it's what we can do with the seasons this year. This year, we're trying to change things pretty quickly. We're trying to make sure that the room itself is organized and efficient. We talk to kids about quality versus quantity. It's not how much you're doing, but it's how you're doing it. Teachable moments before, during, and after lids. Simple things that we have high expectations. I have high expectations. And lately, I don't know if all teams have that same expectation. The expectation isn't just to make the playoffs or to make a run into the districts or regional. It's the state championships. And we go over I don't know if people know it here. When was the last time Clay won the state championship?
70 something.
79, it was
79, I'm
baseball.
gonna say 78.
There's a pretty long drought there that we need to help out with, okay? So in the weight room, the philosophy is really simple. It's team structure, it's athlete driven. We change things constantly. I change them per individual athlete. I did it today with baseball, dividing up pitchers compared to regular just on-field players. And we're performance outcomes. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And that we're going to try and go season program. We're going to program things per season, whether in season, out of season, we go from there. To keep going, if you look at the slides, there's a lot of changes that have happened so far. The cleaning, refreshing, reorganizing the racks and dumbbells. What we try to do is make 6 completely self-sufficient independent stations. We have removed a lot of the older equipment and saved it for facet. Not that equipment's bad or in any means, it just took up a lot of space and wasn't used a lot. So we're going to try to make the room more efficient, which is not, I don't think, been the case lately. It was just stuff that was in there, and people didn't really take advantage of that. Part of the restructuring, reorganizing, came with cleaning it up. So we painted the weight room, we restriped it, we put a lot of effort into just cleaning it, bleach mopping the floor. I have no idea when time the last floor was clean, so once a week I bleach mop it.
Yeah.
Because if I get on the floors, I don't want to sit on scum. I want to make sure that it's clean and it's healthy and that it is for the kids as well. The stall mats installed on the wall, hopefully mirroring the walls in the future for the cleaning of it. The regular cleaning is a big part of the office and storage, which is now the technology hub that we use with the help of our tech department. It is a hub, and honestly, with the help of the maintenance department that did a huge job. They were in there for quite a while, running all the wires. They ran the wires from the hub all the way into my office and then all the way wrapped around the weight room. So as we move forward, you'll see that a lot of the stuff can work individually. I'll give it over to Joe.
And I will say that for somebody who's been around before, and I was a student athlete here at Clay High School who used that weight room as such, as a student athlete prior to Mr. Ostrander coming on board. The weight room itself and the structure and the organization and the cleanliness and just everything all around is light years ahead of where we were. You walk in there on a day-to-day basis, we have multiple teams working on it at once that we're going to kind of get into in a little bit more in a second, but it's just light years ahead. So if any members here have an opportunity to gain access to the weight room and look at it, and especially if you were in there before, it's almost like not even the same space. I mean, it really is a major transformation. Some of these things that were transformed, like Mr. Ostrander kind of started to mention with our technology department, we had a lot of technological improvements within that facility itself. Some things that kind of took place, we have television monitors. We have 6 that were installed in that room. With those 6 monitors, we have the ability to switch the input on each of those monitors. The reason for these monitors is like I kind of already started to mention, having multiple teams in that space at once. You can put baseball on one monitor, softball on another, volleyball on another, boys lacrosse on another, and all of those athletes for those teams. Before, normally you can only have one team in there, right? Writing that up on the whiteboard, etc. Now with all those different monitors, you can have all of those student athletes going to that one spot. What is my lift today? What am I doing today? What am I getting accomplished today? And like Coach Ostrander said, all of those lifts are individually designed for those specific teams. It's not like everybody's going in there doing the same lift, right? We know that athletes in different sports require different lifts and techniques that are going to help them within those individualized sports. And these television monitors really give us the capability to have those individualized workouts all at the same time. So really a cool thing. We had the installation of a countdown clock. It's a big clock, pretty much exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a big circuit clock, and it sounds simple, but it really makes the organization of the weight room so much more. It's so organized. When you have 4 different teams in there at the same time, when you have almost 50 student athletes or students in there at the same time, it needs to be organized, and this countdown clock really gives us the capability to do that. We did have a network expansion. Wes came in and had a company, I believe, come in and do an assessment of our Wi-Fi network in there. And Wes, I think it's safe to say it wasn't the greatest or the strongest.
None.
And there was none in there. So we did have a network expansion, which is going to be starting to be utilized more here in the future when we start to utilize the iPads, which leads me into the next thing here. The district did purchase multiple iPads that we're going to start to use. Again, focusing on that individualized training for those student athletes. Those iPads the students can have, lifts can be on there, they can keep track of things on there using what is called a platform application, which the district currently does have. Before, students were using their phones, and obviously we know when students are on their phones, what are they doing, right? It's a lot of times they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So with the utilization of the iPads, students can get on there, keep track, coaches can keep track of that as well. Something for future expansion that we're looking at is something called velocity training, which can also connect to those iPads. Just another form, another layer of individualized training for those athletes. And then teaching materials, we just have some old Chromebooks that Coach Ostrander is using so that he can keep attendance on his MacBook and then continue to switch outputs on the Chromebook.
There you go. So if you watch the screen, this is the quick transformation that we've moved around. This is the weight room empty with no teams, and it kind of gives you a perspective of what is in and what is out. If you look on the left, you'll see the 6 racks that are aligned. We moved back and kind of rearranged them a little bit. On the right, you see the horse stall mats, you see the power blocks. We'll talk about some of those things. But what we're trying to do is trying to organize so each team or each individual group can work independently. So they're not all grouped together. They're not all doing the same things. And you see the TVs that are up on the wall, the end spotter, the TV that you're looking at right now, we call that our teaching area. So when I'm talking, when I'm explaining, when we're going through the lifts, I can talk and kids can see, and they just don't have to listen to me, and it keeps their attention. And I tell you what, it's pretty groundbreaking when kids walk in there and see that, and they know exactly what to do, and it's all organized. So, so far, we've moved along pretty quickly, and probably lightning speed compared to what I thought would happen, and it's been a phenomenal, the kids notice. If nothing else, I don't know if adults notice, coaches, athletes, and non-athletes are really taking part in what's happening in there, which is pretty impressive. They're really happy. They notice any little thing that I do or that we do as a school, they notice it. They pick it out before I can even say it because they're on top of this. So I'm pretty happy with how that has
So you've
gone.
seen a lot of excitement by the
Yes,
kids just for the
yes.
way it looks and run. I mean, I kind of heard that, but I'm not in there every day, obviously,
Yeah.
and don't get to see it firsthand quite a bit.
And not only excitement, but ownership. I mean, the students are taking ownership of this space for the first time in a very long time. It's a space that, you know, every time I talk to a student or a student athlete that uses this facility, they're proud of it. So they're taking ownership of this space. They're putting things back when things weren't, you know, getting put back before. They're picking up after themselves, wiping things down. It really is quite profound on how proud they are of the space, truly.
The wiping down is a big thing. They'll see me walk around with a Clorox bottle and a towel. If I see a handprint or I call them paw prints up on the wall, I'll start wiping them off. Now kids do that. Hey, you just put your hand on the wall and they'll go over and get a Clorox and they'll wipe things down, which is pretty impressive. And they have truly taken ownership of it. So the next slide is pretty simple. It's just some of the new equipment that was bought through the district, that organization with some of the things that were needed in the weight room just to help us out. And that was really helpful with Mr. Beach making that organized with his spreadsheet of phase 1, 2, and 3. So the big bonus was the Olympic bars. We really didn't have quality Olympic bars. A lot of them are old, rusty, and bent, not overly safe. So we ended up getting 6 of those. The hex bar deadlifts, the TRX, which is just a simple body weight exercise program, slam balls, med balls, BOSA balls, the power blocks, which is number 2 in the upper right corner. That's a game changer when it comes to speed and being efficient. So kids aren't running around the gym looking for dumbbells. They can go change weights between 10 and 90 pounds within a couple seconds. So you can have a kid that's big and strong that can hit 80 pounds. The next kid that isn't, he can go on and put 20 on. They can flip through really quick. And that was an investment. They're not cheap, but I tell you what, they're used every day. The Sornex rollers, we got rid of 3 or 4 large machines that were in there, and they were supplemented with the Sornex hammy roller. We call them hammy rollers because you can do 50 different things with them, and they work great. And kids hate them, but they love them. Because there's no cheating on it. All it is it's like a little skateboard. And the big thing that helps out with a lot of our teams, cross country, the distance runners, softball, I can think of a lot of different teams, the girls lacrosse, they don't like putting the bar on their back. So we ended up ordering 6 safety squat bars, which they're obviously, that speaks for itself, but they're safe, they're padded. It makes some of the lifting that much easier for them that are comfortable. That was a big bonus to have those. And honestly, at my old school, it took years and years and years to get those. And once we got them, it helped. And it has helped a lot here. The emphasis for the students, this is individually figure out on the next slide, is how they move well. Kids have to figure out how they can do things well on their own. They have to challenge themselves. They have to be willing to scale back weight. Instead of trying to be a weight room meathead, they have to scale it back. And I talked about before, it's quality over quantity. And I don't think they're used to doing that. They have to be a great teammate for spotting. They gotta know that they're not on their own. They're not doing their own program. And they can be a great asset to their teammates. What I try and teach more so than anything is that you're spotting, you're helping, you're watching. Everyone is always partnered up and they always have someone to work with. And it has to be more than just working out. I talk to kids all the time. If they're in there, perfect example is hockey. When hockey skates and they get home until midnight and those kids show up at 6:30 in the morning, they're not coming there to waste time. They're coming there to lift and they're getting after it just because they're doing it for a purpose. That's been really impressive to see. And I've gone to hockey games, and for them to show up in the morning right after a game, it's pretty impressive. So my job down at the bottom is pretty simple. And this is what I tell kids. It's not really out for you guys, but what I tell kids is my job is to challenge you, meaning the student or athlete, to provide a great experience, to give you the building blocks for lifelong fitness, and to help you learn to adapt to what you're responding to. Because every kid responds differently. Today we switched up the lift halfway through because the baseball kid said, my shoulder's sore, I was throwing yesterday, so we switched up what we did. Instead of making it a heavier load, we switched up so it was an individual load. And things like that work great for them. The next slide is what I'm pretty proud of. Clay has jumped on board this, the whole school has. We needed racks to store some of the new equipment and to store things because it was just kind of a mess, to be honest with you. The Splinter Brothers, the career tech guys, they built a rack for us and they helped fix about 3 or 4 others. So for them to design it, making it, and they did the CAD program, so they got their classes involved in all of it. The CAD, and they're building, the cutting, the painting, the welding, they did all of it. It's pretty impressive. And those are in the weight room now, you're looking at it right there. The DECA class, they've jumped on board to try and brand or give a logo to the weight room, give it some ownership. So the senior DECA groups, I think there's 24 kids in the class, and all 24 of them came up with a logo. What you're seeing on the screen is the top 3. So those top 3, we let the school vote on those. So I was in the lunchroom all day, and the kids came in. I had kids at the table, and they made QR codes. You'll see that here real quick. And the idea is that we're going to try and brand that and make it logos, make a T-shirt, spirit wear, and everything. So there's what we had up for everyone. If you're really interested, you can scan that. You can vote on it yourself to add to the group. We had over 200, close to 300 people vote. And those are kids, teachers, anyone that walked through. It was like P.T. Barnum. We're pulling people in to vote. What do you think? What do you think? And it kind of got some excitement going in the lunchroom that day. It was pretty fun. It was actually very fun.
How long's the voting open?
It's open for about another half hour.
Oh,
I
okay.
kept it
Fair
open.
enough.
We kept it open just for this.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, I already know kind of which one has got the higher percentage through the Google form, but it's fun to see kids and people. I have it up in the way, and people still come by and scan that and go with it. Here, I'll hand it over to Joe. We'll talk about the commitment through teams.
All right, so going back real quick to that cross-curricular connection, he made mention about the Spolino brothers and those programs building those racks. I think what's something that's really neat is a lot of the students who are in those classes are those students who are utilizing the weight room. So when they go into the weight room, they're like, hey man, I made that. We made that in class, and then they take pride in that, and they take ownership, and then it's really neat to see that. But we're going to talk about some athletic team commitment. This was our first quarter, or our first trimester, which was the fall. So our very first time doing this, these were kind of the numbers that we had. In the fall, we had the wrestling team, boys basketball, girls basketball, cross country, football, and the powerlifting teams in there. Really kind of a good thing for our first trimester, our very first start, and our very first go at this. You can see there the numbers of each team, or the number of each students that participated in the fall. We had 288 out of 1,128 students. Pretty good. We were trying, Coach Ostrander and I talked, let's try to improve on this for the winter. So moving on to the next slide, I think is going to see really a big difference in just a couple of months on how many student athletes and how many programs are actually buying in to our training program, to our strength and conditioning program. In the winter, these are our current numbers of students and student athletes walking through the door of that weight room on a weekly basis. We have 311 total students walking through there on a weekly basis. That's 27% of our total clay population walking through that door every single week. That's student athletes and students, which I think is an important thing to mention. You can see there the PE class are some students that are currently utilizing, non-student athletes that are utilizing that space and really getting better. In just a little bit, we actually have some student testimonials, some quotes from students, from student athletes, and from students alike. So let's go ahead and move forward. I'm going to hand it back over to Coach O. He's going to explain some of the stuff he does in there a little bit more.
So this slide, this is, I do one of these weekly, and it's just a little, just a public address of trying to get the kids aware of their bodies, aware of what they're doing, that we're more than just a weight room, that we're trying to teach them some life skills. And honestly, I really do this because coaching football, there was kids that would live on egg rolls, that would live on pizza rolls and Gatorade, and their nutrition was absolutely horrible. And they ended up getting tired at the end of practice and the games, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason behind that. One of our best players on our team never drank water. He would drink Gatorade, flavor this, flavor that, Monsters, Bangs, all the other the horrible stuff for you. Never drank water. I specifically made this for him so he could see and we could talk about it as a group. And maybe there was a little peer pressure to kind of add into that. I don't know if it worked or not, but as a senior, I tried. So for the rest of his life, hopefully he will stop drinking all that stuff and just drink a little water and hydrate. But we'll also talk about it with softball, baseball. Here's the combination that I put together This might have been this week, last week, that we put together. That's a basic lift that you'll see on a TV. If you walk in, there's always a warm-up. We always get the heart rate up before they go in. They go through the warm-up, and that's inside. It's a mobility warm-up. And then we go through 3 different sets. We do supersets when we have large groups. It helps organize some of the teams, some of the groups to keep them moving. The goal is, one of the other reasons taking the machines out of there was to get students not to sit down. The worst thing you can do, obviously, other than being on their phone, is just to sit there. When they're in there for that 45 minutes that they're lifting, each set takes about 15 minutes, and you get a lot done. So even set ones, they're doing shoulder flies, they're doing a Buckeye bench, they're doing the hamstring curls, and then they're doing core right after that. So everything is incorporated within that one lift. And we change it for the first lift, down at the bottom of the eagle head, you'll see number 2. We'll do 3 lifts a week for a team. And each lift is different. Each lift is organized per body part and trying to have different goals between each one of those. If you look, this is the softball group. The softball muted. Here's softball and baseball coming together. And honestly, when I said, let's get softball and baseball together, people thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I would have too.
So, but, you know, talking to both coaches have been phenomenal, which people thought was crazy too. But we got both coaches to work together. We have them divided up, and the boys work on one side, the girls work on the other, and they do a nice job. I'll play it one more time. They do a great job working together. And actually, it's one of my favorite groups to work with so far. And I work with in the past, I've worked with a lot of teams. These 2 teams are working.
So the expectation is the coaches are in there right alongside
Yes.
you, right? I mean,
That doesn't
for the
always
most
happen.
part, I know for the most part.
For the most part, and baseball and softball is the best. They have, softball will have 3-4 coaches, baseball, there's a couple guys in there each time. So it's a great example of how that weight room has worked, how we've individualized it a little bit and used a lot of the new equipment. Here's lacrosse and basketball. This is their circuit. So I can get boys lacrosse, I can get the basketball group in there at the same time doing something different, but they're all working on a circuit training. So this is them doing a circuit training. It looks the same, but truly, is it gonna play? Truly, it's not. They're really working on different muscles, and they're all working, and they're going on the count clock. So you don't see the clock that's behind us by the office, but that count clock will go off every 30 seconds. So they're 30 seconds on, they're 30 seconds off, and they're working with a partner, and they're rotating quickly. They don't have a lot of time. There's Big Jacob. We taught Jacob not to press because he's 6'7", he hit the ceiling a couple of times. Taught him to move out a little bit, some things that he's never done before. But you can see that was the transition right there. They switched and they moved quickly on their own. It took about a week or 2 for them to figure that out, 3-4 times of them doing an actual circuit training, but once they got it, they're on it. I wish I had a video of the wrestling team. I told the wrestling team, I'm tired of yelling switch. After a day, the seniors are yelling out switch. So they know when to switch, when they know when to transfer weight and everything. I have the seniors doing it. So I could go in that weight room, I could start it, here's what we're doing, explain it. The seniors lead it, which is huge, which is not easy to do by any means. Some of the student testimonials, the first 2 are a couple of PE kids that Justin Wharton's coming there. So I'll stay in there and I'll help out a couple of those groups. Those are kids that have never really lifted before. And he's got about 40 between all the classes, which doesn't seem like a lot, but within the PE classes, that's a good number. And the last one is Mason in there?
Yep.
Yeah, Mason's number 2. So if you read through it, it's just the testimony that they've come in there, they're learning, they're figuring things out, and they're helpful I think they figure that I've been helpful or we've been helpful as a group. We also have some of the staff testimonials that we have, the DECA group with Kevin Subin, and then Brenda Radeball has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal helping out with her group. I think she's very appreciative that I took some of the weight off of what she has to do. That the program in there is organized. I'm sure she was 100% skeptical at the beginning, and now she's on it. She loves it. She doesn't have to say much. She just sits there and watches, helps. She's like an assistant coach. And I think she appreciates that to a point that a lot of that weight is taken off of her. Probably put this over to Joey.
Thank you. A couple other things to add, I think, when we're looking back at some of the stuff we just took a look at. One of the best things about having one person kind of leading the charge with the strength and conditioning. And I hear it from students all the time. Before I was coach, I'm expected to go to football, I'm expected to go to the basketball lift, I'm expected to go to the wrestling lift. Well, now, Coach Ostrander knows exactly what sports that individual plays, and he's able to tailor the lift to all of those different sports. So now, instead of the expectation from every head coach being, well, you need to come to mine. I don't care if you're going to basketball, you need to come to football, or whatever it may be, it's tailored to them. So now, as long as they're making a lift, just one, for the student athlete, that expectation for them doesn't necessarily lower because it is heightened in the weight room, right? They're in there, they're getting things done, and they're busting their buns. But the expectation of the time lowers, where I don't need to go please this coach. I don't need to go show face. I don't need to skip this one to go to that one just to make somebody happy, right? That kind of cuts down on that mental aspect of, well, who am I going to upset and who am I going to make happy, right? As long as they're at that one lift, they're getting their lift in, satisfying all of their different sports, which on a student perspective, I think is fantastic. I think that is a really high thing to point out. So moving forward here at Clay High School, there are a couple needs that are left. There's really not much. I mean, that space is almost 100% fully complete for the time being. We're working on mirrors. I know we've been talking about that for a little bit now, just a couple mirrors on the one wall. Mirrors obviously important for that training aspect, making sure they're getting their lift to the right spot. We've been looking and working at a sound system for in there right now. We just have a little Bluetooth boom box like you would see at, moms bringing to the baseball game, things like that. Obviously, if you're in that weight room, music's going, getting that heart rate up, students are excited, they're doing those things. So we're looking at a possible sound system, a couple speakers that we can connect with, get some music going. One of the things I love is Coach Ostrander, most of the time, he's controlling that music, before you wouldn't know what was going on in there. But
I control it because they don't have clean playlists.
that's what I mean.
I'm
Before you go in there, it was-
If I hear a cuss word or this or that, they're banned. So
Coach Ostrander, he
Also-
controls he controls the aux cord, as the kids would say, and it's just, it makes life a lot easier. A couple cable machines, we're looking at various bars, and some signage. Really, I think one of the big goals is when we finally, in a half hour, when we know what logo the students, the student body selected, we'd love to get a wrap of that logo right there as you walk in. This is Clay High School, this is the strength and conditioning logo. It's something that the student body took pride in, the student body voted on. Getting that kind of right in your face, getting a brand name for that space is really important moving forward. Curriculum for the 23-24 school year is finished. We've worked on that. Students will be able to sign up for this course in the 23-24 school year to take during the day, which I think is a big point of emphasis that we've actually got that in the curriculum for next school year. Yearly budget is something that we're continuing to talk about. Just like every athletic team gets a budget per year, are we going to do this for the weight room to obviously supplement, replace things as they get broken? It's just a conversation piece we need to have, and expansion. I'm going to talk a little bit more about expansion in the next slide, but before I do that, I want to give it back to Coach Ostrander to talk about some local educational partnerships.
thanks. I do realize part of taking this job and part of me selling this job to OCS was just that I wouldn't expect the school to, or the school district to fund all of this. What we're going to do is, we've already reached out to the Frost Fest. We know that we're going to go to the foundation. I've already talked to Amy Hansen about that, talking about to the Booster Club and talking to Moms of Fall and the Gridiron Group and talking to different coaches about contributing a little bit for each program, so it's not all a burden to the district. And I know up front it was all district loaded and there was a lot of money spent on upgrading a lot of equipment. But as we move forward, we know a lot of that stuff can be taken care of through the community, and trying not to just hit the same people. I would hate to hit up the Grams. I would hate to hit up, the Morrison. I hate to hit up all those different individual companies again and again and again. So working with the partnerships of getting grants outside of the local area as well is one of the things that I'd like to think that I'm halfway decent at. We used to joke about it at my old school that we would Andy Dufresne them. If you know that the Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne would write a letter. He would write a letter. He would write a letter. He would write a letter. Well, we used to, and it started here. I'm going to start writing grants and writing grants and writing grants and writing grants. So hopefully that money comes in. It's not going to hit every time, but the more you write, the more you're going to get. And honestly, until we do expand, we'll talk about that next time. Until there is expansion, there's a lot of little things that can still be bought. I'm thinking the cable machines. There's for 6 of them, there's probably $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 each. And I wouldn't expect the district to fund all that, so we'll try and find those funds in other places. And when people walk into the weight room now, they notice a difference. If you have alumni that have come in, multiple alumni have come in and they look around, they can smell the difference. They can see the difference. They can see how it's organized. And it's all been positive so far. So I like to think that we can improve on it even more. There's a lot of things that we do not have that we need to, not that we need to keep up with the Joneses, but to make this a quality program. There's things that we need in the weight room, that we need as a facility, as a district to keep going. You know, you don't have to have a big, giant field house. You just have to have what you have. It has to be well equipped and ready to go. So I think that the future is very bright. I think we have a great foundation, and I think we can keep rolling with what we're doing. So the expansion part, we'll let Mr. Kiss talk about.
Thank you, appreciate that. Coach Ostrander, like he said, he does a great job with reaching out to those local groups and trying to bring those things in. And, I've seen it. I talked to a couple different alumni who came into space, and I love how you said you can smell the difference. Now, you actually can't smell the difference. It used to not be so savory in there, and it does smell a lot better at the current moment. But if you did the next slide for me, Coach, I'd appreciate it. At this point, we are pretty happy with where we're at the high school. Coach talked about some points of emphasis and trying to move forward a little bit here. But like you said, the foundation's really set and really secure. We'd like to look forward to expanding this and making this a 7-12 program. That's kind of the goal. Obviously, I think we all could agree on that, trying to get this as all of our athletic programs a true 7-12 program. So when we're talking about expansion at Facet, there's a couple ideas, and I just want to make sure that the board understands and everybody understands that these are all really just conversation pieces at the moment. There is nothing concrete in expansion over to Facet, but we have started conversation. The conversation has kind of been leading to an after-school club that the students would participate in 2 days a week. The physical space, we have identified a possible physical space that we believe as an athletic department would work really, really well. We're working on trying to clean that space up, but right now it's being utilized as a storage space. So really just kind of shuffling storage and moving things in there. It's really not going to offset anybody or displace anybody, which is a really nice thing. Funding, there's a couple things that need to be improved on over there. Not obviously as much that need to be improved on here at Clay, but just a couple funding pieces. How are we going to do that? Who's going to be the instructor? Obviously, they're going to work with Coach Ostrander, but I wish we could clone him and have 4 of him, but we only have 1. So obviously, whoever that instructor is going to be is going to work closely underneath him. And then projected days and times, like I kind of mentioned, we're looking at 2 days a week for those junior high kiddos, and probably right after school to make it easy for mom and dad to come get them, not have to come get them, bring them back, those kinds of things. So that's kind of where we're at with the junior high. And at this point, does the board or anybody in attendance have any questions for us?
I just have one follow-up. I think, you never expect 100% compliance in year 1, so don't take this question at all as I think the work that you've done in the utilization in fall and winter is pretty impressive. For those that haven't participated, I didn't see soccer on the list, volleyball, track's still forthcoming, so they're spring, so they may, get in the race. But just a couple things. Do you have feedback as to why those programs haven't engaged? You don't have to share it with me, but is the dialogue there to understand, what the barriers are to kind of, so that eventually all of our programs are leveraging the program?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll use volleyball as an example. Last summer, volleyball brought in Fit for All, or is it Fit for All or Fitness for All? And explaining to the coaches, that's what I'm here for. So they ran that through the fall. They didn't want to change that. They were running them through, and that was fine. Track is already coming on. Soccer, we've talked about, the girls lacrosse we've talked to. And a lot of it is the coaches that are not part of the district, getting them in and seeing what we're doing as well. And I've talked to almost every head coach in the district, so it's just time, it's getting them through. Track is definitely coming out. I talked to Frank Holmes the other day. We get it all rolling with them. And a lot of it's a timing picture. To be honest with you, a lot of it's time in the weight room. We are pretty full in the afternoons.
Well, that was gonna be my next question is, can we service all the sports with the space we have today, or?
It takes a lot of matrixing
Okay.
between, I mean, honestly, putting multiple teams into at the same time, that I really didn't do at my old place. And now that I know that I need to do that, it's functional because I have the technology ability to do it, to split the lifts, and kids can do different things. But yes, I think in the future we'll get as many and as ever as we can. But to be honest with you, at my old school, as high end as we were, a lot of things, not every coach bought in. It's, to be realistic, not everyone wanted to do it. They wanted to do their own thing. So we can ask and say, this is what we offer, this is what we can do. But not everybody might do it. I'm okay with that. It's just that I want to try to get as many kids as we can. This is pretty possible.
Say a little bit more on that too, Lindsay, if you don't mind. I think it's an expectation thing too, coming down from the department, from the athletic department. Kind of selling this, and like Coach Ostrander kind of mentioned, a lot of coaches with their programs are a little territorial, right? They want that control over their program, like teachers in classrooms and those types of things. So trying to pry that power of control away from them a little bit, sometimes they feel, especially in the beginning, like, hey, we're coming in, we're taking this from you. And really, it's kind of selling them on, we're not taking this from you, we're providing an opportunity to you and to your student athletes to get better. So kind of continuing from a department level to sell that to our coaches, to sell that we're not taking this away from you, we're providing another resource for you to get your team and get your programs better. So as an athletic department, we're going to continue to push that expectation to our coaches as well, which I think will continue to get more buy-in from all of those.
Yeah, I mean, change management does not happen overnight, so, just
Absolutely.
as long as there's good dialogue there so that we can move towards full utilization is fabulous, so, and it looks spectacular, and, so thank you for all the great
Thank
work.
you.
And I'd like to say, what I remember of that place was not a place that I would have wanted to go into. Number one, the smell or the cleanliness and the whole deal. So I'm so glad to see it organized, because that's number one, and clean, which is number 1.5.
And that's number one, because it was funky. When we
I
started
know
moving
it
things
was. It was like you opened the door and stood back. So.
Side benefit for Dean is that we now know Dave's an excellent painter, and we were always looking for, talented painters.
Sure.
So,
Summer job.
you spent a lot of time in that room, so thank you.
As Hal asked, what did I do in between the lifts? I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
I did a lot of painting, and I'm not a fan of it, but we did it, so.
No, thank you. That was a side compliment, it was.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both. Not an official meeting, but I think very beneficial for us here. And we do have it recorded, and it'll be out there for others to see. And the energy around athletics, there's a lot of passion in Clay and Oregon. There always has been a lot of passion. So it's neat to see us taking such a giant step. And to both of your credits, you had to drag me along from the beginning with this, because the idea behind it, I don't have a vision for those types of things. And Dave, came in and has certainly made his impact through football and through the strength and conditioning and Joe's leadership. So thank you for coming out tonight. And, I'm sure, we'd like to hear more in the future, and doing this presentation is something I'm going to talk to the board about, is like getting kind of on a regular rotation with athletics. And we've done that in the past, had got away from it. We need to get back to a regular department rotation at every meeting.
COVID kind of messed everything up.
Yeah, we're gonna get away from it, so. All right,
You guys, anyone is more than welcome to come in at any time. I welcome people in there, especially when groups, and you come in there when there's no one in there, it is what it is.
and you start at what, 6:30?
6:30.
6:30, and then go after school till about what, 4?
I'm there till about 5:30.
5:30.
A little later than I'm
Lovely.
but I'm there from, by the time the 8th hour's done, and I go until kids are done.
Is there any, vision down the road to offer up any, services to staff?
There's staff that are come in and do their own thing,
Okay.
but to offer our programs, honestly, we don't have a lot of space. It would have to be after that.
Even
Or they come in the morning.
even just the conditioning, like program
Mhm.
development stuff that maybe they do in their own space. Just a thing. I was
Sure.
like, oh, can you make us a strength and
Oh,
conditioning
I
program
see.
for me?
Uses
And I was like,
ability
no,
to-
but just as a benefit to employees potentially that
Sure.
want to stay fit and active. I don't know.
It-
Down the road,
It's been,
future.
no, it's been asked. The counseling department asked me to write some things. Some are on apps, some are on their phones, so, Andy said they're doing it on. And they asked, hey.
Well, that all suggests value, so that's good
Yeah.
feedback.
You know, we, at
Well,
one
I'm
time,
talking-
before this was built at the old high school, which is no longer here, the public was allowed to use it. They came in and used it. It was a much larger space, none of you are old enough to remember, much larger space, and the public came in.
Yeah, we stopped that though,
with
partly
insurance.
because also with the notion of strangers coming in, we don't even like it for voting, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and that kind of thing.
Well, I think that there's a
Yeah.
long-term vision that we've had for some time about a bigger facility and an external facility and taking where the current weight room is and maybe transitioning that into something more of a larger locker room for, I mean, we've got some grand visions. It's not necessarily next year or the following year, but you never know. And if we continue to grow and build upon, like you said, if you're always kind of what's the next thing, it's gonna eventually lead to a different facility. It's gonna have to. Especially if the utilization goes up, especially if we have a goal of staff or a goal of, community, whatever those goals become. I mean, we know how big athletics is and how people rally around it, and it's very exciting. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you to the board
Nice job.
and Mr. Gregory for your support through the thing.
So I was wondering if you paid, how are you at constructing buildings?
Probably not well. I wouldn't trust it.
That's the question.
The pay was begrudgingly a little bit of time.
We don't have to dismiss.
No, but we are
Are we
going
gonna
to,
officially do this?
we're going to have to say something to the public about having a special meeting because we have things on the agenda that we need to pass. So we will have to have another December meeting, whether it's vacation or not.
We'll do our best to coordinate.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
So like before the 31st?
Yes.
Yes.